Now is it on? I think so.
Yeah,
I think it should be on now. So, as you guys heard yesterday, and probably even before, your resolution, or the topic that you're going to be arguing, either both pro and con on, is in the United States, the benefits of increasing organic agriculture outweigh the harms. What does that mean? Let's get into it. Yeah. So, these are, don't click anything yet. These are just some definitions, and I'm going to ask you what you think these definitions mean. Why? Because definitions in a resolution are probably the most important part of the resolution to make sure that you know what exactly you're arguing and what that argument entails. So, the first one should be pretty easy. What is the United States? A country. That includes what? It affects most of the global trade network. What about, think more general. What is the United States? It's a country. What does it include? States. It includes 50 states. Yep. 300 million people, varying demographic, exactly. That's what the United States is. So when we say in the United States, usually it refers to just talking about the 50 states, and all of the deals that go along with it, stuff like that. I did have someone try to argue with me that Puerto Rico was part of the United States once. That was a lovely conversation that I had. It's a territory, but it's not like officially. Yeah. Yeah. It has its own sovereignty and stuff, so it's not officially under the federal government of the United States, but it is like a territory. Similar to how Taiwan is a territory of China, like that situation-ish. All right, benefits. What does benefits mean? Good things. Anything more specific? Stuff that helps, stuff that benefits you. Yes. Things that positively affect your case. Yes. So in this resolution, yes. You have something? Things that positively affect others. So I'm getting this general idea of positivity, influence, doing good things for other people, doing good things for the environment, whatever it is. Yes, that's exactly what benefits is. An advantage or profit gained from something. All right. Organic. What does organic mean? Yes, Nikita. Natural, away from pesticides. Good. Yes.
It depends on what you're referring to. If the USDA certification of organic is what you're referring to, there's just a set of standards that you need to meet on your farm. If you're referring to truly organic, then that's something that nature itself has created that humans haven't invented.
Yeah, that's a good point. There's a difference between the USDA and what's known as naturally organic. That is totally true, and that's why we do these definitions, is because those interpretations, as we pointed out, are what's going to keep your judge on your side. So, organic, in this case, is produced or involving production without the use of chemical fertilizers, pesticides, or other artificial agents. That's what the USDA says, and that's the farming regulations that they focus on, things like that. Good. I like this.
In a round, if that situation were to come up where you said So in a round, if that situation were to come up where you would say, hey, there's a difference between natural organic and USDA certified organic, and the definition we're going to try to use is natural organic, what I would say is, look, the resolution, we're talking about farming. Naturally, occurring organic, that can't be farmed. So if we're talking about farming, it's assumed that we're talking USDA-wise, right? That's what I would say, and that's what, most people would say.
No, we're not going to have a demo round. There are rounds on YouTube, not of this topic, but rounds on YouTube of other topics that you can see how the structure works. So if that's something that you do want to look at to practice flowing or things like that, I highly recommend so.
You guys have tons of practice rounds with each other throughout the week as well.
Yeah, that we'll be monitoring, so we'll be able to help you with those. Yes.
Will you be able to start racers today?
Yes. Yep. All right.
More information on Google Classroom, by the way, on when stuff already.
Yes. All right. Agriculture. What does agriculture mean? Farming. Yeah. What else?
Continue with the aggravated fields or aggravated careers.
Anything to do with ag fields, careers? Yes. Lifestyle?
The overall
Livestock.
Oh, livestock. Yes.
the overall definition of creating natural things under human care.
Natural things under human care. Yep. Will you? All right. The science or practice of farming, including cultivation of the soil for the growing of crops and the rearing of animals to provide food, wool, and other products. Agriculture. Anything farm related, basically, is what that is. Outweigh. What do you think outweigh means? What'd you say? Bigger than? Something more important than another? Caden? Way more? Yes. It is. Outweigh is a debate term that we mostly use. So, yes. You can click the. Outweigh means to be greater or more significant than. So if you outweigh on something, you're going to say, oh, this point outweighs theirs because of blank, blank, blank. Like saying, oh, my point outweighs theirs because we have 2 people and they have 1. Like that. That is outweighing. All right, harms. Any ideas? Negative consequence. Good. Yes. Disadvantages. Yeah, pretty much. Actual or potential ill effects or danger. Harms. You have to consider who's getting harmed. Yeah, that is very true. So,
I guess you weren't here, but I can see this. Yeah, I guess you weren't here, but in yesterday's practice round, that's what we discussed, right? So our side, me and Sam, we said that, hey, look, so Tuba and Lauren's side, they're only benefiting small farmers, right? With small farms, they're only benefiting them. But we are, like, our impacts or whatever, our harms, we're harming through increasing organic agriculture, like all the like malnourished children across the world today because like COVID prices and all that stuff too. So yeah.
will you click the next slide? So those are all the definitions that you need to know. What is organic agriculture? You learned what organic was. You learned what agriculture was. Put them together. What is organic agriculture? Natural farming. Pretty much. So the legit definition is a system of biological farming that uses fertilizers. That does not use fertilizers of organic origin rather than synthetic pesticides. So it uses natural things, no fake fibers, no pesticides, nothing that can harm the earth, basically, is what organic farming is. Some of these examples are what organic farming includes. So green manure and compost manure, which we all probably know smells very, very bad, but it's very healthy for the soil, so they use that. Bone meal and little other farming techniques like crop rotation and companion planting. So those are all things that are included within organic farming and organic agriculture.
And with definitions, you don't need. Oh yeah. And with definitions, you don't need to put like all of these definitions at the beginning of your case, right? You shouldn't do that. You should pick the ones that you think will be most important in the round that you'll make sure you need to define. Like organic agriculture is a pretty big one, but you don't really need to define like harms or outweigh. We all kind of understand that what's happening there. Worst case, you just say what the definition is later on. You just keep it with you. But yeah.
Yep. All right. So these are just some sources that I found. basic information about organic agriculture. This has nothing to do with pro side. This has nothing to do with con side. This is just basically, these are the facts about what's happening with organic agriculture in the United States today. So the first source, yes.
When you are citing your sources, we'll say if you got it from USA Today. According to USA Today, will you have to do that before you say it's consistent?
Yes, so the things that you always want to include, and we'll actually talk about this, I'll talk about this more during case writing, but in your case, you have to cite all of the sources that you use with a name and or the source that it came from and the date. Those, like, you have to have those. So if I were to go here and I'm saying, oh, organic farming is already on the rise. The Pew Research Center in 2019 reports that blah, 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 blah. Like that. You have to say the year and you have to say the source for that. Same thing, you can do USA Today 2020 reports that, explains that, highlights that, things like that. So, what are you doing, dude? So organic farming is already on the rise in the United States. There is still more conventional farming than there is organic agriculture, but it is constantly increasing. Why? Why do you think organic is becoming more popular? Yes, Alex.
It is scientifically better for the land.
It is scientifically better for the land.
And it's also technically healthier.
It's healthier for you, Ivan.
More people are concerned about climate change than they were previously.
More people are concerned about climate change. Yes. Any other reason?
Like, the effects of like, using these pesticides like ignoring and stuff, like, they've like using modern technology, we've come to realize the effects of using these as compared to like the past where these were like not good pesticides.
Yeah, we now know the long-term effects of all that pesticide usage. Like Agent Orange, that was devastating for so many of our crops in the United States, but now we're chilling, kinda, I guess. We still use a lot of pesticides, but yeah, contamination of water, things, all of those are very, very good reasons. Right now, organic farming is 5 million acres of land, is what I found. That doesn't seem like a lot, does it? No. So that's why it's a little bit harder with organic agriculture, because when you say, oh, increasing it, it's kind of hard to know, oh, how much are you going to increase it? But I can promise you that you don't need to answer that. If somebody asks you, oh, how much are you going to increase organic agriculture? Literally all you have to say is, we don't have to worry about how much. We just say that increasing it does this, 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 this. Does that make sense? Okay. Another fact, erosion of soil hurts the United States organic agriculture. So erosion is probably one of the most common arguments that you are going to come across when you're doing your research and case writing, stuff like that. One of the main reasons that we did that we aren't as involved in organic agriculture is simply because like there's so much erosion that's happening, all that soil and all those nutrients are going away, that isn't sustainable for organic agriculture to actually take place. So yeah, there's that. Another fact, organic sales aren't as efficient. It is very, actually, why? Why aren't they efficient? Yes. It takes longer. Ivan?
It probably uses more fuel and such things because there's more land to over.
Yep, uses more fuel because of more land. Cohen? More expensive. Alex?
The results are generally more standardized. Like, you guarantee, like, you would be like, that's like, guarantee that, like, my orange would be this size, this, but in organic agriculture, it's this one.
Yeah, it's less,
You have more ways to
solid, like,
yeah,
less control. Thank you.
like, passes some of the companies your thing.
Yeah. Yep. So those are all really good reasons. Like organic sales just aren't as efficient because yes, they're more expensive to produce, they're more expensive to consumers to purchase. It uses more land because they need more nutrients in order to grow them to the same size that conventional farming would with pesticide usage. So yeah, those are all facts. All right, we're going to go to pro potential arguments. Now, these are things that I already outlined, but I want all of you in like a sheet to write down 3 main contention points, 3 main points that you can argue for pro. I'll give you 3 minutes to do that.
What was like you want organic?
Yes, we want to increase organic agriculture. Yeah. All right, is everyone done? More time? I can do a minute more. Yeah, we should. All right, we're gonna go around and we're gonna share all 3 of our points. Yay! Who wants to go first? Cohen wants to go first.
So I said that with organic, you're gonna have more nutrients.
More nutrients?
There's gonna be no pesticides or anything like that.
No pesticides?
It traps emissions.
Traps emissions. Good.
More nutrients, better environment, and no pesticides.
Solid. Nikita? Organic farming contaminates water or conventional farming? Okay. 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 Solid. Isabella? Less pesticides. Savia?
Or I said organic agriculture is more likely to be healthy than to be like non-hazardous than conventional agriculture. My second reason was it's more natural measure is that it traps from carbon.
Solid. Shahid?
It's better for health, for nutrients.
Mm-hmm.
Like it's obviously better for the environment. It opens up like a whole new crop market as opposed to like, and it outweighs like greater long-term impact.
Cool. Caden?
I basically disagree. It's better for the land, it's better for the water.
Solid. Okay, so let's go back to yesterday. What are the stock arguments? Out of all the things that you all just said, what are your stock arguments? Healthier? Yeah? Better for the environment? More nutrients? No contamination? Yeah. You all said at least one of those things. Those are stock arguments because, yes, they are very, very good arguments, and there is lots of research out there to support that. But because they're so common, you're going to be hitting that a lot. A lot. That's why we have blocks that we'll teach you all about tomorrow. But, yeah. All right, so these are You can click it one more time. Yeah. You can just put all of them on, honestly. There's 3 of them. There we go. So these are the 3 that I found. So for pro, increased sustainability. You know, organic agriculture is a lot better to sustain the environment for a long time. It's better for crop yielding, things like that. You can increase human health. Obviously, you all said more nutrients because there's no pesticides. It's a lot better for human health and it's better to consume because it's not super toxic. And then also an increase in crop variety because of farming techniques like crop rotation. It's better for the soil and you can have a lot more. Hey, Andrea. You can have a lot more crop variety with organic agriculture as compared to conventional farming. So these are just 3 sources that I found. This is not how you should format a pro argument, but these are just some basic ideas that you guys can start from and then build your cases from there. Make sense? All right, let's move on to con. Same thing. I want you guys to write 3 main points that you think that tell me why increasing organic agriculture is actually worse or bad. Okay, looks like everybody is ready. Let's start with Caden this time.
I'm going to go Novice. It could be more expensive.
More expensive?
In terms of price, but also in terms of land. Use more land.
More land. Okay, Alex?
I look around, it's economically, the impact would be great, especially in the short term, because multi-billion-dollar companies that produce fertilizer and like overseas like huge farms, it's going to be like laying off a lot of people. Also, organic farming is definitely more difficult to implement like on a massive scale.
Mm-hmm.
And also this would affect poor consumers because obviously a price decrease matters much more to them than it would like to someone like with the
Yeah. Shahid? Price is bigger. And what else? I'm sorry, I didn't catch the other ones. Okay. Savia?
Said that organic agriculture needs more land, it has more soil erosion, and it doesn't have as much protection against pests as conventional farming.
Solid, Isabella? Okay. Nikita? Yep. Michael? Erosion. Good. Ivan?
More land, more expensive, less great.
Cohen?
I said less quantity, more land usage, and more labor.
Yeah. So, again, I'm going to ask you, what are your stock arguments? Land, expenses. Now let me ask you this. What are your uncommon arguments? Job opportunities? Poor communities? There's one more I'm thinking of. I would think that's more of a stock argument, actually, but in a way, maybe. Erosion is what I'm thinking of. You did? I didn't catch it. I'm sorry. Erosion. These are the three that I found. Yep. So an increase in global warming, an increase in natural toxins, and decreased efficiency. These are not really stock arguments. I mean, global warming, yeah, I think a few of you mentioned more. Did some of you mention carbon release? I can't remember. I don't think so. But decreased efficiency is probably the only stock argument on here. I would think increasing global warming with organic agriculture and an increase in natural toxins is something that isn't super common, but still common enough that you can find enough research on it. So, yeah, these are something you could do. Like an increase in organic agriculture means there's more bacteria. You could go that route. You can be like, oh my gosh, it kills humans because bacteria. Do something like that.
And all these are probably things that all the slides are posted on Google Classroom as well.
Yes.
These are all things we should probably make blocks for because if we're presenting them, we're going to run them, and they're just like stock arguments. So it's a good source to find arguments that you can make blocks.
Yes. All right, we are going to take a break. I'm going to give you, what time do we end our lecture session? Is it 12?
We end at 12:30.
Okay, so I'm going to give you until 11:35. 11:40. I'll give you till 11:40. It's 11:20.
Yeah. You guys can, go ahead, go to the bathroom, walk around. Walk around. You guys should all walk around.
Yeah, you should walk around some. If you all...
Make sure you are here by 11:40.
Yeah.
But don't exit the building.
Yeah.
10 minutes and 20 seconds.
On the actual dog.
Ew, that's gross.
Some like brain check
Oh,
out.
I wish. I had a straight 90 minutes of calc.
Oh, me too. It was so gross. I hated it. Yeah. If you all come back in early, maybe we can do super fight until 11:40. But
You come back
first,
early.
take a break. Go walk around a little bit. I'm gonna go fill up my water bottle. Thursday, Friday are all 45-minute periods. Tuesday, Wednesday, you have blocks of 90 minutes.
Shiny button.
I love it.
This one actually you can kind of tell it's a gorilla, which is
Yeah, you
I'm proud of
can.
this one. These are just weird.
You cannot tell that's a cat,
Yeah.
frankly. Okay, so let's talk about Russia and Ukraine
Okay.
for a little bit. Because
I do
how
not know
long?
much on this topic, other than just a church topic.
That's okay. I did some research stuff. Okay, so
We can
basically.
talk about the Bosphorus Strait, like Turkey.
Absolutely.
Very, very, very well, but
No.
okay.
No. So, Soviet Union collapsed in 1991. After it collapsed, it broke off into Russia and Ukraine, and because of that split, Ukraine had a bunch of nuclear arsenals and a bunch of nuclear warheads. But they gave them all to Russia in exchange for like Russia's respect of Ukraine's sovereignty, and so that Ukraine would be an independent country, and that was in 1994. That was called the Budapest Agreement, I believe. And then we jump all the way to 2013 with the Ukrainian President Viktor Yanukovych, who rejected a trade deal that was proposed by the EU that stopped their economy from growing like so many millions of dollars and whatever. And a bunch of Ukrainians felt like they were being sold to Moscow because they were like, oh, why don't you sign this? This would be very beneficial for us, blah, 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 blah. And then you jump to 2014, where there was Crimea, right, which was a part of Ukraine, but many Russians thought that Crimea should have been a part of, many Russians thought Crimea should have been part of the UK.
Wait, what?
No, many Russians thought it should be part of Russia.
Yeah.
Why did I
You
say
can
that?
imagine. Britain
Okay.
comes back. Britain 2.0.
Seriously, many Russians thought Crimea should have been a part of Russia after independence because a bunch of ethnic Russians were still living there. Wait, no, that's not right. Oh, no, that's wrong. Okay, so Crimea was actually given to the Ukrainian Soviet Socialist Party by Nikita Khrushchev, which was the Russian president during that time, as a thing of respect, I think it was. So it was given to, anyway, that's not the point. Anyway, 2014, Russia annexed Crimea in order to salvage the situation from the EU deal when Viktor Yanukovych was kicked out, because he was basically impeached. But that left a split between the western and eastern Ukraine, because in eastern Ukraine there were a bunch of Russian separatists, there were a bunch of separatists that were backed by Russian forces that seized territory there. And then eventually Ukraine was like, no, and they fleshed out the rebels after Russia shot down the Malaysian plane that killed 288 people. And that was July 17, 2014. So then Russia fought with the rebels that were fighting them, and that led to talks called the Minsk Accords between Russia, Ukraine, and basically the entire West that called for a ceasefire and military withdrawal so that, they weren't constantly attacking each other. But still, there was a region in eastern Ukraine called the Donbass region, which is controlled by the rebels who are closer to Russia as compared to being ethnically Ukrainian. Today, Russia invaded Ukraine because they didn't want Ukraine to join NATO, which is a military alliance created in 1949 to stand up against the Soviet Union. Why? Because Russian President Vladimir Putin wants to recreate the Soviet Union, and he doesn't want any of the Slavic states to join NATO, which would stop that plan. Examples: Russia has sent a bunch of fighter jets. Russia took capture of Kiev and
Oh wait, there's a map of.
I was watching a video yesterday about.
You should probably just teach this because I have no clue what's happening. So there's a whole website. Some random kid in IX during that showed me this website, I guess.
Yeah.
Yeah, there we go. This one. Here. Like shows Russia's advances and where they are right now and like.
Oh my
the,
God,
like,
you should
after
totally
taking
pull up
this
that
out.
website.
Right, okay, that's good. Oh, so yeah, Donetsk and Luhansk region. We'll pull this up. Is Anka not coming today? Why? Oh,
Whack.
that's
Who
weird.
wouldn't want to be here? What do you mean? We're so cool.
Yeah, that's true. Her parents like went crazy with signing her up for camps and stuff.
Really?
Yeah, she didn't really want to be here anyway.
That's unfortunate.
Yeah. You guys still have a while. You want to just sit around and chill or something, or do you guys want to? Like, I don't know. It doesn't matter.
Yeah, I think they're just chilling.
Wait, okay.
I think like closer to when we're coming back in, we should go ask.
Alright, that works.
I was yelling at my sister yesterday because she decided to start drinking energy drinks at the
Okay, so Crimea was given. Okay, I'm just gonna write this down actually because I
Yeah.
have that room.
You should probably just.
I'll do that.
I will teach everyone about Turkey and the Black Sea region. Yeah. I hate the topic.
The turkey salad.
No, I did way too much research on that. I just did not like that. So.
We all did too much research on that, dude.
Yeah. It's like the most I've ever researched topic by far. I did like at least 5 times as much research as I did for that topic. I did literally any other one. Math, quals, whatever.
I did so much research for Turkey. I like zoomed. Crypto, I didn't do that much.
And then quals and stable and shit. So I kind of sucked. But
Your quals did.
yeah, that's
My
true.
quals.
Yours quals popped off.
Yeah.
That's true.
Actually, no.
Actually, I can't even say that. I'm going to probably be Drake and Grateful, so twice.
As I should.
So very happy about
Drake is
that.
annoying.
Understatement.
He's so annoying. He frustrates me. He always tries to act like nice to me too, but it's like you can tell it's fake nice.
Oh, he just doesn't. For me.
No, he's like, good job, Chiba. And I'm like, shut up.
I've tried to like actually be friends with him or whatever. He's not a good person.
No, he's not.
So it is what it is. He's the one who suffered. All his friends like ostracized him. Like, they just hate him, so. Not my problem. Are we on? Is that a we on video?
What?
We on? News channel?
No, this is gravitas.
Gravitas? Yeah, it is.
Well, I like searched up Ukraine-Russia situation, and the first thing that popped was in speaking Hindi, and I was like,
Yeah.
I could. I watched it, and I was like, yeah, but like, dude, what?
He also has a pro-Russia stance. So,
Modi's.
yeah. Even in general, too, throughout history, he just always had a pro-Russia stance over U.S. Like, no matter what, because like India was allies with USSR. Shit, with America to the point. Do you know they almost got a nuclear war?
Probably.
Like the U.S. sent some like nuclear submarines to India in defense of like Pakistan, I guess. They sent them right at the border, and then like Indian and intelligence and like what's USSR's? What's it called? I forgot. Whatever their intelligence thing came, and they went right behind the U.S. submarines with more nuke submarines, and like threatened to like just annihilate them.
Oh my
So
God.
the U.S. like withdrew, and so did Russia. So
Thank God.
yeah, so that's why. And then India always buys like military equipment and stuff from Russia.
I bet.
Usually. But now that Pakistan and U.S. are not allies anymore, and India's like economically beneficial, U.S. and India are getting closer together, I guess. But so maybe. So.
It's so annoying. It frustrates me because I literally have family that is getting, like, from the police there and from the government there.
Really? It's not good.
Like, my entire dad's side of the family is basically getting persecuted over there.
Yikes. He's not a good person at all.
Okay, I get it now. Alright, where are the rest of them?
Oh, they're all in the same place.
Where are they?
In the front of the couch.
We did say 40, so it's not.
We should go get that at 11:39. You know the screen can see the screen, right?
You can all see on that.
Yeah, they can all see it. On the stream it says, that's really funny.
What?
It's just playing Snake on the stream. That's funny. Alright, anyway. And there's literally like no one watching.
That's fine.
Should I erase the welcome to DEI building?
That's fine.
I'll erase that. This stuff if I want. Really?
Do we have to explain what annexation is?
You should just say it's when a country takes another country or a part of the country for itself.
Without
Basically.
formal.
Yeah. Just take it.
Alright. We're all here. Yay! Thank you for being on time.
Ow.
As you should. Sorry. Alright. Everyone ready for new topic? Yay! Not new topic, new lecture.
I was gonna say, wait,
Not new topic, new lecture. Actually, we're not talking about organic agriculture. We're actually going to be talking about West Asia. No, we're not talking about West Asia. Anyway,
Alrighty.
case outline. Yay! This is how you're going to format cases. Are you all paying attention? Please put your phone away. This is important to know. That's okay. I do the same thing during class, but I do hope that you guys will pay attention to this one because it'll help you a lot during your case writing later today. So take notes. It'll help you a lot. Okay. So we already saw the basics of this, right? We saw the outline, how to structure contentions. This right here is the general outline of what you want to do for a case. You have your contention 1 tagline, right? So if my contention 1 is nutrients, my tagline is nutrients. You have cards in the middle that explain everything. Usually those will be under subpoints, but you don't always have to have a subpoint. What you just want is cards that explain a clear link chain into something we call an impact. An impact, again, is the result of something, how good something either is, how bad something is, how it can lead to human extinction, something along those lines, right? Just showing the effect of what the Resolution Act has on society. I guess society works. And then same thing, contention 2, card, impact, and then you have conclusions. At the beginning of your case, you are going to have an intro, and you may want to put definitions, you may want to put a framework. For example, my intro to my cases is always my partner and I either affirm or negate, depending on what side I am. My partner and I affirm the resolution resolved, and then I say the whole resolution, and then I start contention 1, whatever. You can also include definitions. We provide the following definitions: organic, natural, agriculture, whatever, all those definitions. Bless you. And you can also have a framework, which we learned about yesterday, right? We learned about framework yesterday, right? All right. What is a framework? Yes, Caden. We did? No. So a framework is how a judge, you frame the round, basically. So if I say, okay, my framework for this round is quality of life. That means we have to hold the quality of life and human health of people above anything else. All of my impacts should be tied to quality of life. All of my opponent's impacts should be quality of life. And if they're not, then we win. Things like that. Basically, it's just like how you can win. There are lots of different frameworks that you can have. I think we actually talk about them later.
You're essentially like, in a way, you're weighing before you weigh. You get what I'm saying? Because like, for example, if you're comparing, if one side is talking about all environmental impacts and the other is talking about like costs, you know, if someone's able to afford or not, how are you going to compare them, right? So if my case is all about like environmental protection or whatever, my framework would be like long-term preservation of the earth or something like that, right? And what I would say is judges, we should look at this round based on who can make sure that the earth stays here the longest and that the most people can actually benefit, right? And that way, and then your opponent's framework would maybe, I don't know, like make sure that people actually have a quality of life while they're alive, right? So when you compare those frameworks, that's like how you look at the round and how those are supposed to be set, just like you said.
Yep. I'll tell you this, the most common framework that you will run across in public forum is what we call a cost-benefit analysis. It's often shortened to CBA. Basically, that's just saying you look at the cost of implementing something and the benefits that it produces, and you analyze it and see how good the trade-off is, basically, is what a cost-benefit analysis comes down to. But you don't have to focus on that. Your frameworks should probably be something along the lines of increasing quality of life or preservation of Earth or something general along that line.
And actually, most of the time, you don't even like need a framework because if you think about it, like when you look at the resolution, right, it says the benefits of increasing organic agriculture outweigh the harms, right? And what Tuba just said is like the cost-benefit analysis, where you're comparing the benefits versus the harms. That's basically your framework right there. So the resolution essentially says it. So in this case, you might not even need a framework. It depends on what direction you want to take your case or what you're arguing for. So yeah, I guess it's based on that. But don't be obligated to do a framework, but don't also be obligated not to. So.
Yep. You can do the next slide. Okay, again, we're going to go over contention outline. So you have, this is an example from a topic that we had 2 years ago during my sophomore year. It was about a UBI, which stands for Universal Basic Income, and it was about welfare programs. So this is an example. So their tagline for contention 1 is empowerment, right? And their subpoint is a UBI strengthens unions. And then they have a card for that. They have evidence that provides said evidence, right? They have a card that says that because you need evidence to back up all of the claims that you're making. This pink, red-ish thing is your impact, which is eventually what your cards will lead into. Your cards should create a link that basically flows super nicely into your impact. So if you say a UBI strengthens unions, and thus when you strengthen those unions, it reduces inequality and poverty within reduces inequality and poverty, you have to have evidence and those cards to show that. And that's what that's for. And then again, you have subpoint B, a UBI strengthens women. The impact, income security, and a plus 5% increase to GDP. So that's what that is like. Right here, this is important to know. Subpoints can either be multiple subcategories of your contention, or they can form what is called a link chain. So that's the difference between the cases that we read to you yesterday, right? Aditya framed his as a link chain form, versus mine are subcategories. That's how we format our cases. So do whatever you feel is right for you, but you should have a link chain somewhere in there.
Yeah. And if you guys are like confused on any of this stuff, what I'll do is I'll post one of my old cases, which are formatted like this in the self-replies. I'll post one of my old cases on Google Classroom, so you can use it as an example. It's not on this topic, it's like Turkey or something like that. But yeah, I'll post that on and you can use it as an example.
All right. Again, this is just another example. This is specifically a topic we also had 2 years ago during my sophomore year. This was about offensive cyber operations. Contention 1, U.S. power grid. This is what we mean by this is the subcategories one, right? No, this is the link chain. So these are all the different subpoints, right? Subpoint A, Russia's cyber capabilities. Subpoint B, U.S. tempting fate. Subpoint C, Russia quick to lash out. Those are all pieces of evidence that you write under those subpoints. You have USA Today 2020 points out that Russia said that they will attack if the U.S. has offensive cyber operations. Yada, yada, yada. Whatever. And you bring up all of this evidence saying, oh my gosh, this might happen because of offensive cyber operations. And here are all of your impacts. The economy can go down. The mortality rate can increase and more people are going to die because the U.S. power grid is hacked, and then society is just going to basically collapse. That's another way to format cases.
So essentially, like, what this does is it, like, leaves a story, right? So overall, the topic of the story is about the U.S. power grid. The first, like, link of the thing is, hey, first let's establish what Russia's cyber capabilities are. They can attack water towers, they can attack electrical grids, whatever it may be, right? You establish that. Each of those links in the chain has very strong evidence attached to it. That's really important. That strengthens the links. First you establish that. Then you go into, hey, the United States is tempting fate through like the use of offensive cyber operations, blah, blah, blah. Then you go to Russia will lash out against the the United States when that happens. Why does it matter? Well, economy, mortality, societal breakdown. So this kind of story that you're weaving, that's your contention. So you want your contention to have some sort of story that you're building up, some sort of like leading to some impact that then you can pull forward in the round. That's public forum, essentially. Yeah.
Yep.
That depends on how you want to structure your contention. This one is the link chain form of contention, right? Where you put all your impact at the end because it's something leading to another thing that has all these impacts.
Yeah. This is how I format all of my cases. Is I always put all of my impacts at the way bottom because I'm like, this is so important because people are dying.
You don't need to because see, the subpoint A goes to the subpoint B, which goes to the subpoint C, and all the impacts happen because of the subpoint C, right? I also do this way. The other way, like this, is possible because this one doesn't have a specific link chain. What it does is this one doesn't have a specific link chain because what it does is each one of these are like a separate argument, right? So this is like a topic area is just empowerment in general. Now, union empowerment, well then you have like evidence to that, why it empowers unions and like the impact of that. Then another argument is empowering women and then what that impacts that has. So there's like two different ways of doing it, depends on the topic, depends on the case, how you want to write it and stuff like that, but yeah.
So, yeah, same thing. Subpoints can either be multiple subcategories, like this, or they can be a link chain. Honestly, whatever you feel is necessary for your case is what you should focus on. You guys are novice, so you still have lots of time to practice writing cases and everything. So don't worry too much about, like, oh my gosh, is this, or is this categorized as this? What you should be focusing on is, does this make sense and does it connect? That's what we're here for, is to review those cases to make sure that you know what you're saying and that you're saying it in a logical storyline. Oh, wait. Oh, no, never mind. Okay, so these are some case definitions that I put in. We talked about resolution. What is a resolution? Yes, Alex. The topic of the debate. Yep. It's the, like, official framing. So the organization that we're a part of is the National Speech and Debate Association, NSDA. So it's the official wording that NSDA has provided us for this resolution. All right, you want to, like, click through. Framework. What is framework? Yes.
Like, what you're, I'm saying it the same way, but like kind of what you're, like how you're weighing things is how you said it.
How the judge should look at it.
Michael, you have anything to add? Talking about a specific topic? Yes. A framework is a set of standards the judge will use to evaluate a case. The judge will either use criteria to provide or their own you provide or a combination of standards. So it's what the judge will use to judge the round along with whatever they like better. Did we talk about observations yesterday?
Yeah,
We did. What's an observation?
like something that you see and hear in the other person's case.
Usually put it, so observation, you can explain. Go ahead.
Okay, that's okay. So, yes, kind of. I think you're thinking of observing the other case, and observation is something that you place at the top of your own case, basically looking at a specific section of this is something that we should focus on. It's not large enough to be a framework because you can't frame the entire round on it, but it's also not small enough to just completely ignore. So, like an observation on this topic could be something along the lines of, we observe that organic agriculture is following the USDA regulations of farming. That is our observation for the round. What that is. See, our observations are arguments that establish the burdens each side must satisfy to prove their side of the resolution is true. All right, claim. That's okay. What is a claim? Yes, Nikita? Yeah? It's what you're arguing for. You're claiming this argument. I'm claiming that organic agriculture is better for human health. I'm claiming that organic agriculture is more sustainable. A claim is your main point. Your contentions, basically. Main point of an argument, a statement of what the debater intends to prove. All right, we've talked a lot about link. What is a link, Ivan?
It's like a relationship between your RA and your effect.
Yeah? Pretty much. It's the relationship between all of your evidence that eventually leads into your impact. Yep. A link is a connector between pieces of analysis applied to connecting to more than one argument to form a larger picture or when presenting complicated refutation. Now, we didn't talk about warrants at all. This is something that's pretty advanced. You guys don't need to know this, but it's something that you might want to bring up. A warrant is basically saying why your argument is true. So your link is saying, oh yeah, this happens because of this, because of this, because of this. But your warrant is a piece of evidence that tells you, oh, but here's exactly why and exactly how. Not something you need to focus on right now in Novice, but something that will help you way later in other years.
So it has your evidence already proved that like this will happen.
Well, yeah, okay. So a warrant is essentially, it goes a little further than, okay, so you can have an expert saying something, right? I can have an expert saying organic agriculture is better for human health, right? Whether, let's just say like MIT or some professor said that. But the warrant goes a little further, takes a step further and says, why is that? Well, the warrant would be further evidence that you have, preferably within your own case, that says that it's better for human health because it has less pesticide use, which interferes less with like your metabolism, things like that, you know? It goes a little more in depth about why.
Because if I came up to you and I was just like, oh, an MIT professor said this, it's kind of like, okay, why does that really matter? You know, you have to explain a little bit more than just this one person, this one source said this. It needs to have that in-depth explanation. That's what the warrant is for. Yes, Nikita? Yeah. So what you do is you will have to respond to framework, just basically proving why yours is better. Most of the time, either the frameworks are similar or one team will just concede to the other framework because they're pretty generalized in the sense of increasing quality of life, whatever, things like that. But you just have to like argue it better. We should be like, no, we should be focusing on quality of life because, or like the preservation, let's say there was a framework of preservation of Earth versus preservation of quality of life. I can go up there and be like, no, we should value preservation of Earth longer because without the Earth and without sustainability on the Earth, we won't have a good enough quality of life. Therefore, we should prioritize the preservation of Earth in the long term.
So this is when you like respond to your opponent's
Rebuttal.
Yeah.
yeah, rebuttal. Yep. So like an example, let's just say, is so this is yours, this is your opponent's, okay? So your framework is, let's just say, security. This is really bad.
Yes. Throw it back here. We don't need to keep junk like that up front.
Okay. Security is yours, and then theirs is like freedoms or something. Okay? And this is getting a little more into like philosophy. Frameworks can get a little into philosophy. But so should we value security or should we value freedom? That's a pretty big question, right? That's comes with surveillance and stuff like that. So let's talk about it. Why should we value security over freedom? Safety. All right, good. All right. Any other? Yeah, good. So what this is it's called a prerequisite because you can say, look, in order to have freedoms, you need to be secure. hey, you need to preserve life first, so security has to happen before freedom happens. Like that. That's an argument for that. Now let's look at freedoms quick. Rights, exactly.
Thoughts, ideas?
Like this is
Creativity,
Like why freedoms over security? And like give some scenarios in which like we should value people's like individual freedoms over just like pure security. Yeah.
privacy.
Good. Anything else? Yeah, so another major one is like, let's just talk about like quickly, I'll just quickly.
No, go ahead.
Like, NSA surveillance, for example, like the government surveilling your phones and things like that, is that justified? Well, that's a debate between personal freedoms and privacy and security. Because the NSA and other governmental organizations, well, they're saying, or like they use this data to like secure you, I guess, but to what extent are they taking this, right? So, what you can say is to defend against freedoms versus security, you can say that it's a balance. Because a super, super secure world is basically you in prison. Yeah? Because if you're stuck in a cell, you're very, very secure. But obviously, your quality of life diminishes. Yes? So then we look at things like quality of life. Q of L abbreviation. Stuff like that. So that's why framework is really, especially when you get a little bit more into debate, more in depth, not really much at the novice level, of course, but a little more into depth, you'll start seeing stuff like this, where you talk about framework, and that's how you're telling the judge what to value in the round. Because obviously, yes, these are contradictory frameworks, right? So we have to look at, hey, whose points actually flow under which framework and which is more important. That's what you do in rebuttal. You say these stuff, and you say why your framework should be held above your opponent. So
Yeah.
Quick lecture on framework.
Yeah. And Vidya is totally right. Some framework debates can get super philosophical and super deep for no reason.
Yeah.
For no reason. Like, I highly, highly, highly recommend never to say more than 2 sentences about framework. Because at the end of the day, it's really not super, what's the word? Important?
It's not necessarily like a vote.
Yeah.
Also, on the framework, it could be essential, right, especially if they're contradictory, but you say, well, our framework's better, and here's why.
And you never know because some judges don't care about framework at all. Some judges just use their own set of values and beliefs and whatever they want on their paradigm that we talked about yesterday. They use that only, and so framework doesn't even matter to them. So again,
Yeah.
it's just judge related.
If you're really enjoying this type of stuff, like philosophy and framework and stuff,
LD.
LD is your place to be. Because in LD, it's like framework is one of your biggest things that you're looking at, like how you're figuring it out. And it's like very philosophy. But yeah, anyway.
All right, last definition, impact. We've talked about this. What's an impact? Yes.
like you're like effect. Like if we do this, this happens.
Yep. Pretty much. The reason that the argument is important establishes a compelling reason why the argument matters in a broader context. Very important. You should always have impacts. If you don't have impacts, your case will fall. So make sure you always have at least some impact. Maybe it's not super, super strong, but some impact that you can pull through throughout the entire round. All right.
Again, here are some more example cases. These are the bottom. I'm not sure. Is the top one?
The top one's mine.
Okay, top one's Tubas. Bottom 2 are Lawrence, who's teaching varsity prep right now on a West African topic, and then I'll put mine in. Actually, I'll just put mine in here. I'll put a link to this, and I'll put it on Google Classroom as well, so wherever
Yeah.
you guys can access it. And yeah, it's the ways we make our cases once again pretty different.
Way different.
But the essence of it, the contention structure, the supplement, the link chain structure, having those impacts, it's very, very similar. So as long as you're somewhere within that realm, you'll be fine. Do something that's comfortable for you, while also is easily, like your judge can actually write it down, understand your argument.
Yeah. Like, when you open mine, you're going to see a bunch of colors. color coded galore, like so many colors. It's very, very bright compared to Aditya and Elijah, who just have like 2 colors.
Just like moldy pencils.
Yeah. So. All right. That's. Oh, I went through that pretty fast, honestly. Didn't think I would get through that fast, but that's okay. Super fight? Want to do more? Do you want to do the partner ones? Okay.
Wait, first, okay, let's spend like 10 minutes first, get together with your partner if you have your partner, and like quickly talk through maybe stuff you might like consider writing. Maybe like the arguments that you're keeping secret or something like that that you didn't want to say out loud in the class. Something like that. Talk to your partner first. Just really
Today? Okay, I thought I had it on my schedule at noon, but
Oh,
maybe
this
it's
one?
different.
Oh.
Maybe I can do it, we can flex, whatever works for y'all.
Oh yeah. Go ahead.
No, they can do that. I'll probably take a full half hour, so do this, maybe we can do it right after lunch. Right after lunch? Yeah, right after.
Is that a research request?
Yeah, that was, but that's okay.
Oh, that's only stage for half an hour.
Oh,
Yeah,
oh,
I
we
can-
can brainstorm after those. So
Oh, yeah.
Totally.
You can-
Yeah,
you
we'll
can
do that.
totally
I'll do that. I'll
or,
just-
or
I'll-
also this one.
Yeah, whatever
This
works.
whole time, so yeah,
Yeah.
that works.
You all tell me, I can flex.
Okay, if that's okay.
After
Yeah.
lunch works.
Yeah,
Awesome.
cool.
Remember that you all need to prep both sides. You need to find arguments for pro and con.
Yep.
And I want to know who's going to get to nuclear war first.
What subject are we doing?
It's the bigger that
The
you
biggest
guys-
impact
right?
that exists, right?
We are doing this. What topic are you doing?
The organic agriculture.
So let's do the thing where this is the pro side, the other side is the con side, and then they show us. No, not which one do you want?
What do you want us to talk about?
Yeah, so just figure out, talk about some possible arguments you can have on the pro and con.
Right, con.
You have to write both cases anyway, right? So just talk about maybe some of the stuff that you were thinking about but not 100% sure. Just discuss through, talk about it, write stuff down. Just to start, so then we can finish and develop it more later. That was funny. Almost pulled out concepts. That is what that is. So almost pulled that jargon out, but I was like, no, it's fine. Security and freedom.
That's for the organic necessarily. Oh, you want to do con? Yeah.
Like what you just said.
Mine was
Again.
It was so we went to Dale's website. They have like 2 major things to like my blog.
Oh my god, I know exactly what your little paragraphs are in with the.
I think so.
Yeah.
It's like political ideology and military ideology.
Yeah.
So that was my favorite. It's like political ideology, military
I mean,
ideology.
it's fertile.
Define them, and then my contention more political ideology and military. Like, not even joking, that case slapped. That was such a good case. Like, no one we went against actually responded to that case well. It's just like one on
Con
so
requires more, so our conventional deforestation.
That's the big one, so we'll have to come up with a lot. Yeah, I guess we can write that down, right?
yeah.
She said it's called this.
Yes,
Oh, we're at Jaeger Hall. Do you know where that is?
forestation, and then micro.
It's so you go. Do you know where the Avera building is? Where you are? Yeah. So just like instead of turning into the Avera building, just go straight, and you'll like see there's like a. Do you know where the wait? Do you know where the spin pad is? Yes. Okay, here. I'll just give you your So the Avera thing, right? You know there's a back parking lot, like a back area where like people come out of their labs, right?
Okay. So
But right behind the Avera building.
be,
Turn into that, and then you'll see.
like 2 cars just.
Actually, I'll just finish.
So, one column of deforestation is back.
Wait, I don't think she can even, does she have her G card? She does? Okay. So drop, have her drop her stuff off in her room, and then, I'll like send you the address.
It could endanger it.
Acre. So I don't think I can. Yeah.
Well, any kind of meat card, they just support the force.
Yeah, so what is this?
Or, yeah, just, here, I'll send you the address. What is drop her off at, or,
The
drop
impact is
her
that
off and put her stuff next to her.
it will,
And then pick her up and then drop her off at Acre.
it will endanger it.
I'll send you yours. You know where Thorn is?
Age of climate change.
Alright, sounds good.
Leaves the world. This can lead to some pretty bad stuff.
God, I'm so bad.
Climate change, no fulfillers.
Climate change, no North Pole. Magnets.
You know what's so sad? Catherine was like, my heart like sank. My Catherine was like, yo, this food's so much better than mine. I'm like,
Oh,
no. Harvard's awesome. Yeah, Harvard's food is easy bad.
Impacts leads to severe. That's a good.
Yo, no.
Yeah, we can.
Okay.
Wait, we can have more than one impact.
You need to capture your
We can have more than one impact for each intent. Okay. Yeah, we can.
How many colleges do you Oh, how was that?
I'm gonna look at my notes for case. A little bit, like 10 minutes of research. Like,
The Wi-Fi?
Oh, yes, I
Oh,
do.
yeah, go for it.
So it's,
what time is it?
IoT or something.
Oh, no, I think that's the doorknob.
Oh,
So,
oh,
yeah,
for here it should be yes, yes, and yes.
so yeah, there's
There's
There's no
No, there's no password for
the first impact.
Yes.
Could we, use the internet, like?
Should we do it like this way?
Yeah, go for it. No, for your cases, use the internet.
Yeah.
That's like your,
Well, what I'm doing.
use the internet, look
I
stuff
would
up, and
recommend
like, look
pulling
arguments.
out your
I'm
computers.
going to do
Researching on your computers. Your computers
Oh
will
yeah,
be-
you guys should bring your computers like every day from now on. Because we'll always be doing like case research and like research stuff, so always bring your computers.
Are partners okay? Does anyone want to do a partner change?
Feeling the vibes? Alright. Also something you should discuss, maybe who wants to be first speaker and second speaker. That's
I feel like you're probably better at second speaker.
Sure. I'll go with you next, so. Okay, we got that time.
Second.
Look at my
The other major issue I think was like child quality of punishment.
Job. Yeah, right here. Time potential arguments. This is a good one, right?
Because I don't want you just like being here alone doing everything. I do want like partner stuff. And
yeah.
I would
Anika's on the way. She's like getting dropped off by Ina. She's like dropping her stuff out of that door.
Oh, will that be the same?
Oh, she's coming.
That's what I was
Then our framework, which is around last.
Yeah, there's
I have a communication.
Our main framework,
Our framework is only value, right?
yeah, so value punishment.
So is that what you want value? For our main value then?
Can, yeah.
Yeah. But the thing is,
Hold up.
do that.
Is this
They'll
only
have
for the
pretty
residential one, or is there
stock
like one for
reasons.
here?
What is
Not
that?
as good to have stock reasons.
This is the picture you
Cool,
sent.
unless.
That's the IOP Wi-Fi. That's only for Thor. That's only for the residential. This one is SDSU guest. It has no password. The SDSU guest.
I mean, we can still argue on
I could run it off my phone.
Yeah, it's probably not worth it.
It's slow.
it'll be unless we can argue.
SDSU guest.
Okay, so let's do one that has the plan.
So,
What's the goal on that?
This do you like interact with the
there is this carbon,
Carbon.
yeah.
Not really.
We could also,
Because
no, what was it?
they're all,
This is not
yeah,
time.
and I don't really like, I don't really like,
So I guess
have a
this.
problem with it. It's just like, I also sign on
Yeah, I guess.
Okay, so I guess
There's only
if
one
that's
thing
the only
other
add,
than the Muslim family that's but they're like
Well,
and now we need subpoints for that.
There's
some
a
Russians against
family from
convention
or
because
Pakistan.
they're the ones doing
we
The
have a
last name's
lot
also
of
Ali. So.
Didn't you
Oh.
say that?
so many Pakistanis. Oh my god.
Soil erosion has soil erosion has never come up with so that's not.
See it?
Oh,
I don't know.
Well, we'll have to do more research.
yeah.
I should probably just write it on the board.
So A for that.
This is much.
Well, there's less plants in the ground, remember that, like, the roots is carving into the soil. So there's less plants per acre, which means that there will be less carbon, so there's more happens. And, well, if there's less plants that hold that soil together, then, you know, if you've ever heard of, the dirty, yeah, all that stuff, because of all this killing and soil erosion and whatever, they couldn't like keep the soil down, and the wind would just pick it up and do it. It'd be like sandstorms of dirt. So you figure it's storm water.
Alright,
Yeah, there's.
We can use it to scare the example happens. That's what I like.
Yeah, and that'd be, well, that guy would be more like conventional farming or organic farming because it didn't have pesticides, whatever else, so they just have like, they have like, I mean, it's ready and so.
So what do you want your, what do you want?
And then I do my lecture.
So, well, that being an
This
example,
library,
and
they
then
all
we could choose, like, with modern day organic farming, we could bring back the potential of that.
Yeah, because we need to change
Okay, so let's head
this
back.
week,
Let's
this
break
week,
it
this
forward. Let's head back.
week.
So we can keep starting stuff
So
here.
for our first one, we're gonna do this.
Should I be working on my presentation for Ukraine?
Do a presentation.
I have one in the five. It's not done.
Courtesy fine.
Organic,
Oh, you
okay,
know
great.
what, actually? No, I have to look through the documentary.
Can all of you get into the Google Classroom?
Yes.
Have you tried?
I don't think I have, no.
Yeah.
Do you have your laptop on you?
Yeah, I do.
Oh, you should like log in. To,
Okay.
I see yesterday's.
I'm not sure
Yep.
how we're gonna.
No, I haven't put today's yet. So I'll put them right now. I'll put my
This
case.
could be a week late.
You good?
This could be a week one.
Well, the thing is that they do not, since it's only been so far down.
I gotta make an assignment to the case.
Conventional
Forgot
farming.
now, so.
Which is the same thing, the tilling thing is related to the soil erosion, right?
Yeah, but
So we can use that.
organic is, organic uses less than conventional. I remember they were talking about that yesterday. So, the deforestation one, that's something, that's like, that's a common.
Yeah, and then tomorrow we'll come with the black list. We know for sure that it's gonna be the time for that.
Yeah, so we need to figure out, this could be, that should probably be pro or against conventional farming, because if we keep on doing it, it could bring us soil health and all that. And
They
go,
are gonna do
yeah,
okay, then I raise that. So Novice streets.
you know, that's pro work.
Okay, we'll do that for later then.
I think we have a discussion again, so probably, we could probably do all the pro stuff.
Yeah.
Oh yeah, it's a Word doc. I forgot.
I'm gonna do this. But
What I use verbatim.
We can do economies and how that affects.
What's really funny is
Well, we could do.
I'm so passionate, like, just verbatim that I make Elijah do all of his case, like, he wants to make a case, just do split cases.
Kind of showing
His
just
pro
more
case or
solar
whatever,
erosion,
he makes it on Google Docs.
Okay.
I transferred it, like, reformatted all into verbatim. Because he does like reading on and stuff, so at least that's
So
just.
then, let's look at these concepts.
All my blocks in verbatim, just so.
Does organic will have no protection against pests as much as conventional fertilizer? So,
Yeah.
Okay,
No
now,
one really
Talk about is
like nobody's
like
talking about
structure,
it.
dump
Yeah.
things, like dump sources
okay,
and
so those are
use.
title four.
Like they can choose.
Yeah.
Crop disease use.
That's basically it. Like, you can
Pest
random stuff like out of some random books that God knows where they come. And it's like, yeah, no, they're correct sources too. They're crazy.
Do you go to the library to research?
Yeah, we
We're
will go
going
to
to
the
the
library.
library after lunch.
Okay.
Yep.
Okay.
Since we only have 10 minutes until lunch, so.
So.
Yeah, in the library, you guys can check out books and stuff as well. So, if you want.
Oh, what's the Wi-Fi password for
Yes,
it?
Wi-Fi,
yes.
yes. SDC, yes.
There shouldn't be.
are
a
you
problem.
have time
Yeah,
to
there is
like
no
walk
password.
around with a buddy to like go to the library or like go to
Oh no,
school?
we'll take you there, like today.
Okay.
Yeah,
Pass protection.
Like during study halls and stuff, we'll probably take you there.
So, look for this topic.
Study hall?
We have.
It's just more casework time. We work about cases, blogs, stuff like that. Whatever you want. So, yeah. But I also posted the case on Google Cloud.
Advanced knowledge. We should go to solutions. Cause I can bring to mind that stuff. We get the advanced knowledge, that sounds good, right?
I'm so tired.
I feel like I would like to be on Because Pro has a lot more like
Because this was when Victor
Well, I
Yanukovych
mean,
was
we
president.
did have solar, just didn't call it subcontinent, right?
Yeah.
We
This
can,
is not
do you wanna, like, so, is this a good one?
Yeah, I think it is.
So then, let's like stick that out, so.
No pesticides.
Once he's open,
Organic,
Yeah.
advanced
He
technologies,
is.
advanced agents. Advanced agents.
Oh wait, what about so biological? You know, how they like biologically engineer certain like.
What's the first
crops.
one called?
So.
What?
What's the
That's
first
what
one called?
conventional farming does.
What?
Yeah.
Like,
Before you just lab just.
Intentions.
Or we can have subpoints, will that, we can do that.
Yeah.
Yeah, like, that's one of the examples that for some.
Oh, here, I'll pull up the format. There you go.
Labs, what do I do for Five, yeah, 500.
Technologically advanced. Advanced engineering.
Oh, I guess you have, yeah, that,
Ion
you have cards, right? You have multiple cards for something.
We they advance the seeds, they do that. But
Yeah,
then
they, oil engineers see someone resistant or they grow.
is this our official
bio-
piece?
Yeah.
This is
Engineering.
one of them?
Yep.
No, no.
You don't have to finish it today. It's something that you can refine.
I know, I just wanna know if like, this is gonna be like.
They could be-
Yep,
Yep.
exactly.
Just one of those.
This is your actual case for tonight.
Bio engineers.
We need to come with a good, I don't think that's a good enough name. Just that,
We can come back.
we'll come back to the,
And if you guys have any questions about whether it may be literally anything like case structure or even topic and stuff, we researched a bit into this because like, you know, camp and we also did the demo round, so feel free to ask us. Sam had so much fun with you up yesterday.
So cute.
Yeah, he had so much fun. He's like, we were just giggling.
I was like watching him doing his summary and I was like, oh, mom, this is so
Yeah.
adorable.
No. We were just giggling during prep as well. It's like, even prep is so much fun. Yeah, so. Did I tell you why you were giggling? I did, right?
21.
21%. Imagine.
Hey.
Hey, got you.
Because remember, there are like.
He was good. He was gonna say that too, but for now.
And that doesn't release information.
And stays in the cell.
Yeah, instead of organic farming where lots of that comes out.
I just wish it like would have been
So it
around
can't be diseases in the
that we've already like
passed on to this.
I know.
like on another topic.
Oh.
Oh, yeah, that's true.
May I
Yes.
answer that?
Yes, go ahead.
What's
Yeah.
the class?
There are cases of AP live stream.
Oh, guys.
Your cases?
Yeah.
Be back soon. We're leaving for lunch in 5 minutes.
I don't believe so. Wait, tournament isn't live streamed, right? Like all the rounds done. Those days when slurs says live stream equipment though.